look at what Belichick would have with a talented football team, with Bijan Robinson. Back to him. It's incredible. He had 195 rushing yards last night, 34 receiving yards, 229 yards from scrimmage. He's got 2,255 for the year. It's a franchise record. He's got 5,605 yards from scrimmage in his career. That is the most that any player in the history of the NFL has gained before turning 24. The guy isn't even 24. And Arthur Blank is going to have to write him a big-ass check after this season. When your head coach is saying repeatedly you got the best player in the league, guess what? The window opens for his second contract, and if I'm Bijan Robinson, I am not putting a toenail on a practice field until I have my second contract, given the inherent risks of the position that Bijan Robinson plays. It really is, and you're right, they benefit from the fact that they aren't obviously horrible and they aren't obviously great. There's a convenient anonymity that comes from being middle of the pack. You know, no sudden moves. We can kind of do our thing. We're not getting clowned like the Raiders and the Jets and the Giants. We're not constantly being scrutinized like the great teams. We can just kind of do our thing and coast in the middle. But it's kind of hard to do that when you get 5 primetime games and you win 4 of them. I would think they were underdogs in every single one. The Vikings were favored week 2. The Bills were clearly favored when they played the Monday night game a little bit later in the year. The Bucs were favored when the Falcons went there, and last night the Rams were favored. So 4 upsets in primetime. You can't really hide, and this is why we've spent 20 minutes talking about it. This is a team that could be elite, and they need to figure out what is keeping them from getting the most out of the talent that's on the roster. They got to fix the quarterback position. They were talking last night about Kirk Cousins. Maybe they'll bring him back next year for $45 million, and you got Michael Penix Jr. You're going to do another year, and you're going to give Kirk Cousins $45 more million. Maybe that's the right answer. I don't know, but that just makes it more glaring that they chased the signing of Kirk Cousins with using a top 10 pick on a guy who has a torn ACL, and so far the results have been undecided. It's incomplete on Michael Penix Jr. so far. So they got a lot of work to do to get to where they could be. The fact that they're not down there with the worst teams in the league has allowed them to benefit from not getting the kind of scrutiny that they're getting the morning after a win. Maybe they wish they'd lost last night because, I mean, I'm only being slightly serious, but think about it. If you lose last night, we're not trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with the Falcons. Why don't they play like that more often? If they lose last night, the Falcons lost to the Rams. Rams are a better team. Hey, better luck next time, Atlanta. Now we're like, hey, Atlanta. You know, I think I've used this metaphor before. You're the kid that comes home. You get straight C's. You come home with 100, and you're proud. Until your parents look at you and say, all right, let's go. Let's do this more often.
And it's interesting because exactly what you just said. A few weeks ago, this is a team that played at home, and the Miami Dolphins came, and because it wasn't prime time, it was a 1 p.m. game, but we're in there in the screening room watching all these games, and you're kind of checking out the game, and you're like, man, Miami's killing Atlanta. Bijan Robinson had a fumble in that game. Like, they looked very just ordinary. Like, it was just like, man, they really have fallen. Like, this team looks horrible. And then you look up, and now they're on a win streak. And, again, you get another opportunity because of the Michael Penix draft, because of Bijan Robinson. You end up with these 5 primetime games because you now have these names that people want to see. And each time you get on primetime, it's a reminder to people of, wow, like there's some real talent over there. Like Jake Matthews going out there and battling Jared Verse. It was like they showed and they came back and they replayed and gave a close-up one-on-one of the matchup. And Jared Verse, Troy Aikman said, one of the most violent pass rushers in the game today, comes and just tries to bull rush him. And he just sits down. He's like, here, we're here. Like, that, when you watch that, you're like, man, Jake Matt, that's a really good football player. And that's the thing. Like, when you get these guys, you get certain guys in your locker room that people want to see, it highlights those things. But you look and you're like, man, is Atlanta not just a more luxurious Cleveland Browns when you think of the quarterback situation and you just brought up possibly bringing Kirk Cousins back, and now Michael Penix Jr. comes off an ACL, and now you hit two guys who just had major injuries, but one guy's going to be 2 years removed, so there's a chance he looks a little bit better. So now how do you make these decisions? How do you go forward with Raheem Morris? So whoever the head coach comes in, if you always have to hear, hey, are you going to put Kirk Cousins in there? Hey, he doesn't look quite right yet. It's Kirk Cousins. That just leads to so many other questions. The same thing we're questioning down in Cleveland with the quarterback situation. So I think they have to be careful with just kind of rolling this thing out and doing the same thing again. I think they really have to sit back, assess what they have. Hey, is Michael Penix Jr. the guy? Hey, we're all very critical of Minnesota, of letting everybody go, not bringing somebody in. But hey, whether we agree or disagree with the decision, they sat and made a decision. Hey, J.J. McCarthy is our guy going forward, and they did that. And I think Atlanta's in that same situation. Is Michael Penix Jr. your guy? If that's your guy, you can't have a Kirk Cousins sitting behind him, ready to go at any moment, paying him $45 million. To me personally, I just don't think that's going to be the best thing for your football team. The New England Patriots, when I was there, we decided Mac Jones was our guy. You couldn't keep Cam Newton behind Mac Jones and think that he's going to develop and be a good football player. Again, whether that was the right decision for that team, you can debate that. But once you make that decision, I think you have to go and fully support that guy. And I think Atlanta's going to be in that situation this offseason.
You mentioned the Cleveland Browns and the quarterback position with both teams, and it flickered a memory for me. And this is an example of why when the Browns do something, it's a big deal, because the Browns have a long history of dysfunction. For the Falcons, they were in the Super Bowl 9 years ago. They had Matt Ryan as their franchise quarterback from 2008 through 2021. But remember how it fell apart for the Browns and Baker Mayfield. What happened? The Browns started flirting with the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and that broke it. And even before they ended up getting Deshaun Watson, because I think one of the reasons they offered him $5 years, $230 million fully guaranteed, they had poisoned their relationship with Baker Mayfield, and they were screwed. So they had to put all the money in the middle of the table to get Deshaun Watson. Well, the one thing that we forget is the Falcons did the same damn thing. They flirted with Deshaun Watson. It ruined their relationship with Matt Ryan. They ended up trading him to the Indianapolis Colts. And after that, before they did the Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix Jr. thing, they had the Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder experiment in 2022, and then it was Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke in 2023. They thought Ridder was going to be the guy, and they got that as wrong as they could have gotten it wrong. So I think they overreacted, and they were desperate at the quarterback position, and they made the decision they did last year. But it's just another example of when you're kind of middle of the pack, not elite, not horrible, you get a pass for things that you do that other teams get scrutinized mercilessly for. And this is just part of what they have to figure out. And we're saying all this, and, Falcons fans should be happy. If I'm a Falcons fan, and usually what happens is fans of a given team get mad when you talk about the thing that they know deep down they're concerned about. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to think about it. They'll worry about that when they're trying to fall asleep at night and staring at the ceiling, fretting about that thing that has them concerned about their football team. They don't want to turn on a show and hear people talk about it. They don't want to be reminded of it. If I'm a Falcons fan, I want people talking about this. I want people saying, Arthur Blank, you got to take the car to the shop and hook it up to the diagnostic machine. We got to figure out what's going on with this thing because we can fix it. Let's fix it while we can. We got a Ferrari. Let's get it fixed. Let's get it running before it's too late. That's what I would want. I'd be very happy. If you're a Falcons fan, you should be very happy we're having this conversation because they have the potential to be great. And this would have been the year to be great. They're in the division nobody wants to win. Hell, the Saints aren't that far out of it. Now, obviously, they've been eliminated, but they're all clustered together now. It started off, Buccaneers running away with it. Then the Panthers start to get involved, and they leave the Falcons and the Saints in the dust. Well, the Falcons and the Saints have emerged late. And you mentioned earlier the reality now that the Falcons can forge a three-way tie. And this is the damnedest thing about the upcoming weekend of games. The Saturday afternoon game between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. If the Panthers win, they win the division. If the Buccaneers win, well, we got to wait and see what happens tomorrow now. And I don't think anybody expected that. And I said this yesterday, and I apologize in advance, and I apologize now. There are people who get paychecks to cover the NFL who had no idea. They thought that the Saturday game was winner take all. Nope. If the Bucs win, they got to wait and see if the Falcons beat the Saints or if the Saints beat the Falcons. And hell, all of a sudden, that's a compelling game. A meaningless game to everyone but the Panthers and the Buccaneers is going to play out on Sunday if the Buccaneers win on Saturday. So it really is nuts what's happened in that division. It just shows you where it currently is. And if the Falcons had gotten their act together, they'd be running roughshod over the other three teams the way the Patriots used to. One of the reasons you guys were the number one seed every year is you fattened up your record against the three lesser teams that were assigned to your division. Now, look, you guys, obviously you made the most of it and you won plenty of other games, but it's a lot easier to be the one seed if you're not cannibalizing the three teams, the four teams in the division, beating the hell out of each other. And that's what the Falcons could have been. If they had played consistently like they played last night and like we've seen them play in prime time, they'd be in contention for the one seed this year in the NFC because they would have beaten the Bucs twice, the Panthers twice, and they'd be on the verge of beating the Saints twice. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.